Happy Spooktober, everybody. Welcome to October, one of my favorite months. Halloween, leaves falling, things crackling, spooky time. I am so tired. The other thing about October, the end of September, beginning of October, is that crossover last weekend of September is always SuperCon weekend. I know you've heard me talk about SuperCon before. That is spelled SIOUXPERCON, SuperCon. I should throw up a banner here. SuperCon. This is my SuperCon debrief. So last year, I helped with SuperCon. I was the MC, and that was not my first time being part of SuperCon, but my first time in an official staff role and in a role that put me in so many places at once. My past experience with SuperCon was originally as an attendee, and then later as a panel guest with Improv, and then later as a panel host one of my favorite things to ever have hosted was a women's creators panel. And then worked my way up to MC, and now I'm just tired, man. Did it for the second year in a row, and there's always something new. This year, SuperCon got so big, it took over the whole convention center and the arena. And I'm kind of sad because I spent most of my time just in the arena. I'm not sad about that. Every minute in there was amazing and full of excitement and everything. But because we learned that our wireless mics couldn't carry in between, I didn't get out on the mic in the breezeway and in the exhibit hall as much as I did last year. And I was out there, but you probably didn't hear me. And that until you went into the main stage area. And since I had to run back and be there for announcements on that mic, I wasn't in the breezeway and the exhibit halls as much as I wish I could have been. But I will be talking about the important times I was in the breezeway and the exhibit hall. And those are total fangirl moments. So definitely search SuperCon, check the hashtags. On 605 Speaks on the Facebook page, I did go lives from several main stage things. Not all of them. I just couldn't get that all there. I want to say an amazing, huge thank you to my friend and teammate for the weekend, Sean Burke from Rapid City. You've seen him on 605 Speaks before. He is the director of the Western South Dakota Community Action Program. He is also my very closest good friend and came over for the second year in a row to be my personal assistant, carry my stuff, make sure I didn't lose the clipboard, grab my phone and live stream for me and things like that. Just because of how it worked out, I did not get a lot of still pictures, but we did live stream a lot. So definitely, if you want to see the Adrian Paul panel that I live streamed on our Facebook page, the 605 Speaks Facebook page. If you want to see the Nick Palma Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle panel, that's on there. Even if you just watch the first 5 minutes of it, trust me, there is an action sequence that's amazing. We did live stream the cosplay stage walk and the cosplay awards ceremony from Saturday, and we live streamed the kids cosplay. Those are all on the 605 Speaks webpage. I didn't film any of my one-on-one interactions with people while I was walking about this year. I tried to do that last year, and I didn't do that this year, and I wish I had, because I heard so many great things. And I just encourage everybody to go on your Facebook and do a little live stream or a little reel and talk about your top 3 to 5 awesome moments at SuperCon and hashtag them, because all of the staff that is busy working a certain sector or whatnot, we don't get to hear about how it's going for the attendees and how it looks to them and what drew them there. We're drilled in on what we're doing. So I love to hear the excitement in your voices. So I have definitely been searching the hashtags and finding pictures and liking and sharing and commenting. And I hope y'all don't think I'm crazy, but when you're working and you only get to be in one zone for certain times, you don't get to see everything. And so I am definitely appreciative of all of you documenting it for us. And I'm so excited to see it through your eyes as well. Let's talk about a couple of my highlights. First day, Friday, during the day, I had purchased a ticket for the Sword Experience, which is amazing cool. Adrian Paul of Highlander fame and many, many other film and movie things. Just for me, he came into my personal frame of reference as part of Highlander. Got to do a 7-hour class. It is literally the most physical thing I've done since delivering a baby. It was swords and choreography and stretches and movement and running and lunging and jumping. And it was crazy. It was crazy fun. I feel like I could make some movie magic, mostly probably running away, but I could carry a sword while I do it now. It was really great. It was really great to hear from the perspective of the difference between when you think about sword fighting or any kind of weapons thing. When you're in theater, you learn how to perform combat without actually trying to injure anybody, even though sometimes it does happen. I've got a fun bruise on my hand, even though it does sometimes happen. But one of the things you also don't think about as much is the fact that it would not be the same as a real fight in the real world. Like, it's choreographed. Adrian Paul says in his panel, if you were, yes, John Runyon, I am wearing a keep calm and don't blink shirt. If you were fighting in the real world, you would, fight to injure your opponent, end the fight right away. And what good is that in a movie? You need to have the sequence. So we learned how to fight. And if you ran out of moves, just start over. Fight. I really got to give a shout out to Jason and Caden. When we got paired up into teams to work on choreography, we got paired up into a team of 3. Caden was here. It was the first time he had ever been to a convention like what SuperCon is. He was here from Omaha. I asked him if he had been to Ocon. He didn't know anything about it. He's like, no, but my friends and I, they work in what I would call a LARP, like a live action role play. He said they work out a lot of sequences and storylines and practice and do sword play and things like that. He was very, he got it. Like, he got it. The hand movement and things. He was very, very helpful to me and like step in and show me what, when he was watching what I was doing. And he was like, well, if you do that, I'm going to duck. I'm not going to be able to finish the choreography, things like that. And Jason from here in Sioux Falls that I ended up seeing for all 3 days, from opening ceremonies all the way to he was in the audience for closing ceremonies. That's on my Facebook page. I gave him a shout out that he was committed to the convention all the way through too. But we were sweating. Those guys can agree. We were like winded and sweating, and it was fun. So that's my sword experience. I highly recommend. It was definitely, I think, worth the money for me. Some of it was just oddly enough, the first, 30 minutes we're talking about stretches and doing stretches and prepping our bodies for the activity. And he talked about ways that in theater and things like that people get injured because they don't think about how they're going to use their body and stretch and get ready, and how that's sometimes the ways we can get injured in our daily life. He talked about extra stretches that we could do and things like that. And I found that really helpful. And that's probably why I'm still alive today, because we did do that warm up. That's something I think I'm going to probably take with me as I continue things. I did the stretches on Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning. I thought this is going to help me when I'm trucking around in those heels I like to wear. So, and Adrian Paul was also, I did get to stay for his whole panel after opening ceremonies. He was the first panel. I missed a lot of panels I wanted to see. So I was glad I got to see his. And that's how I got to meet Andy from Fat Dude Digs Flicks. I'm definitely going to be adding his podcast to my list of things to listen to and love. And I want to connect up with him and talk more. He was a great panel host. He was awesome. He hosted multiple panels for us. He had great questions that not only would I never have thought of, but as soon as he said them, I'm like, I would have never thought of that question, but I absolutely want to know the answer. So he was great. What's one of my next highlights? Oh, my next highlight, you're going to hear weird noises in the background. That's Taco Cat. You guys get to meet my new kitty. One of my next highlights is an artist, author that lives here in Sioux Falls that I've always wanted to meet in person. And he's been at past cons before, but I didn't get to meet him. And that's Hector Curiel. He created the graphic novel American Ace about Joe Foss. Joe Foss from here in Sioux Falls. He was a World War II hero. Our airport is named after him. And Hector, I get to hear the story of why did Hector even create this? What prompted him? He did sign it for me. I think that's awesome. And he was commissioned to do some art for our Sioux Falls airport. And he said, I looked at it and I saw that it was Joe Foss Field and that there was this statue of this man. And he's like, well, who is Joe Foss? What is this about? And I want to know about this. And he found Joe Foss's autobiography, which is a pretty big book, and settled in and read it. And he was like, I need to put the images of this story ink to page. And this is a fantastic graphic novel. I've tried to explain to people that I'm a voracious reader. I love words, too many words all the time. And I've had people say before, I don't want my kid just reading comic books. Everybody that loves comic books or graphic novels feels like they are having to explain and justify themselves all the time. I personally am a visual reader. When I see words on a page, the way my brain works is I don't see this word, then this word, then this word. I see the page as a bunch of words, and then the words go into my head. So I'm naturally a visual reader. And so when you add that text to panels, it's even more in depth for me. And I think if you have a kid that maybe struggles to tie the words on the page to the images and whatnot, or they struggle to read and develop context cues, graphic novels and comic books are absolutely the way to do it. They are words and panels. And I think what I love that I get a chance to say during closing ceremonies is that if you as a reader, if your first main character was Frankenberry or Captain Crunch or Tony the Tiger, you're a visual reader. You were seeing those bright colors and bright images on the back of the cereal box and reading it every single day over and over again and bringing it all in. And that's why I know what riboflavin is now. I know all my vitamins, and I actually have a job in medicine. I'm going to say it's literally because I read the back of a cereal box every morning for years. The problem is, though, for some kids, Frankenberry is their last main character. They don't find a way to connect that reading skill and keep going. And maybe if we gave them more in-depth, more meaningful reading material, but continued to give it to them with amazing graphics, they would get more main characters, better stories, more science, more art, more engineering, more STEM and STEAM, because we figured it out for them. So also, this is just an amazing story. My own grandfather was in World War II. And so to read about this young man who left the farm to go fight Nazis and became a hero and then came back and was very successful. I mean, he was the American Ace. So definitely find Hector's book. I know it's available on Amazon. Also, go to Hector's website. I should have brought it in with me. I didn't grab it, but I also had him do a caricature of me and my daughter, and it was outstanding. He does those by commission. You can send him pictures and he'll send them back to you. Or when you see him at conventions, he does them in person. Just amazing, skilled artist. So that was a highlight. Continuing my love of reading and amazing artists, there was also another guest that was stationed in the kids zone. And so if you were there with a kiddo, I know you got to see him. SuperCon was very lucky to get a grant from the South Dakota Humanities Council to give out 100 copies for free 1,000 copies of the second installment in the Sword of Super series, Sword of Super, the Magma Cup by Eric Gapster. Eric was at the very first SuperCon and has been there 6 out of 8 times. And this is another amazing graphic novel, full of color, full of adventure, full of connections. I got to meet him and his son. He signed and personalized 1,000 copies of this. So every kid that wanted a free book got one. And we had additional books that we are going to be able to pass on to Reach Literacy, one of the charity groups that is supported by SuperCon, and also to area schools. So signed copies of an amazing book. And talking with his son, who's 8, who was, during his time hanging out with his dad, was drawing his own comic with story panels and graphics and text and everything. Like, I have trouble, like, handwriting my name sometimes. And this kid was telling me he's already developed his own superhero and his own storylines for him. And how Eric got to talk about how his son's superhero from the book his 8-year-old son is developing got a shout out and has a cameo in Eric's book in the first Sword of Super. So that was just very touching. And that's going to mean so much to that little kiddo someday when they're grown up. So that connection. Other things that were super awesome. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Nick Palma, one of the most genuine, energetic, fantastic people I've ever come into contact with. He heard my name one time, and I don't even think I introduced myself to him with my name. He already knew my name by the time he first talked to me. He was just great. I know that kids that introduced themselves to him, I saw him later in costume in the breezeway, remembering their name and pointing them out. Hey, Charlie, good to see you. That's my bro. That's my buddy. Hey, just talking to the kids. He was at the celebrity brunch and spent that time talking with kids that were there with the VIP tickets at the Sunday morning brunch and talking about answering questions about how did you decide, like think how a kid looks at this, like, how did you decide to be a turtle? Stuff like that. And talking about how he was 29 when he developed his career in movie making. He said, I was a young guy. I was interested in martial arts and things like that. And he said, but then I joined the military. And after the military, I came out and I still had this interest and wanted to do these things. And so he pursued it, and look at him now, and he also is more than just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But yes, we do. Not only do I think Sioux Falls needs to have Nick Palma come back as a guest, he to multiple people expressed that he wants to return as a guest. And I fully endorse that. Any local pizza place, maybe we should reach out to Sonny's Pizza or something. They should sponsor the return of Nick Palma. I do know the ingredients to his favorite pizza. Andrew Heller drew that out of him during his panel, so we can make sure he's taken care of when he comes back to Sioux Falls. He was just outstanding. That guy gets up and runs 2 miles every morning. Like, no way. Oh, here she is making her cameo. My newest cat. This is Taco Cat. She was born on the 5th of May. Say good morning, Taco. Taco. She's got very sharp kitten claws. She is from my brother's farm, just like my other farm cats. He now lives on what was my grandparents' farm. And so she looks a little different. She's my first tortie. Can I have a kiss, Taco? Yeah. Whoop. So she's adventuring in here with me today. She gets spayed on Monday. Kitten rescue. Kitten rescue is in the exhibit hall, and I did get to snuggle some little kittens. If I didn't have a new kitten, I would have. They're on my list of not only shout outs, but please want to connect with. I'm going to reach out to them. I want to have some of their members on 605 Speaks. I want to talk about where they all live and what South Dakota is like for them and how did they get involved in this and what does kitten rescue mean to them. So they're on my list. Cosplay. Let's talk cosplay. So the cosplay coordinators, Crystal and Jason, are amazing. And that is a huge endeavor. And it was nerve-wracking for me last year to announce that. It was nerve-wracking for me this year as well. It's just a delight for the eyes and the brain and everything. And also just to like humbling to see some of these young people that have put so much work into building their costumes and embodying their characters and doing it because they love whatever their fandom is that they love. And I think this year, it started out on that first day, there was between 85 and 100 participants that were going to do the parade and the stage walk. I think some ended up not actually deciding to go through the stage walk, which, because that's got to be nerve-wracking. And also some of them, it's hot. Some of them are in full makeup, full costume, layers and layers, things like that. So you can get up in the morning with a plan and then the plan is waylaid. Also, some of them were in their own way promoting cosplay as great ambassadors for it by spending their time in the breezeway in the exhibit hall and getting stopped and getting their pictures taken with people and things like that. But yeah, it was amazing. Anybody that watches my live stream of while I was doing the intro to cosplay, I've already had 2 people ask me, they said, why do you keep stepping off stage and then stepping back? Well, it's weird. They're like, why don't you either just stay where you are and or stay off stage? And I agree, it does look weird. What I'm doing, first of all, I have to thank Jason and Crystal to make it easier for me this year, because I am a little old lady with my bifocals and I don't know all these names and fandoms. To make it easier for me this year, they put it on an iPad so I could read it clearly. There's no like variations in handwriting and things like that. So I could read everything clearly and they were in order. And if something happened and somebody stepped out, they had somebody running it from the back. The names, if they had to change order or whatever, it happened in real time on the iPad. So that was great. What I'm stepping off and doing is asking people, how do you say your name? Sometimes it's their own first name. How do you pronounce your name? Or how do you pronounce your character name? I can tell you if your name is, common to me, John, spelled Jon, taking from John Runyon, who's given some comments today on the vid. If your name is John and your character is Batman and you are dressed as traditional Michael Keaton Batman, I probably won't need to step over to you. I will be able to say John as Batman. But as somebody whose own name, I often get called Jenny MC, which is okay. Or Jenny Mick, which Mick isn't how it's pronounced. It's Mac. My name is Jenny Mac, but it is spelled MC, but it is pronounced like MAC. So I myself, and also Jenny, the way the first name is spelled, it's not the common JENNY. So I understand having a name that when you look at it printed, you might want to say it one way, but I actually say it another way. So, and I have an easy name. So I if I was stepping over there, I was either to ask them their first name pronunciation or the correct pronunciation of their character's name, because there's no way I could know all the fandoms. There's no way. And I know, and I do apologize too to anybody that's watching. I know I still got some of them wrong. And the kids were, and the little kids were especially kind to me about that. But everybody was so kind and forgiving for that, because I don't mean to be disrespectful. And I know you've literally put 365 days or more of work into this. So that's what I'm doing. And the reason I step off, but then step back, is because if I stay where I am when I step off and I get on the mic, I would sometimes get feedback from the speaker. So that's why I'm going back and forth. It's just a step off. And then Jason is standing with me. And everybody was like, why do you keep dancing around that man? Because why not? Let's dance. He, as the co-coordinator for cosplay, what you don't see off screen behind the magic curtain is Crystal is guiding and lining up the participants with her other volunteers. They're safely getting them on the ramp. Some of them, their cosplay, it can mess with their perceptions and views. And also it's dark on that side. So she's in the back, lining them up, checking if they're okay, checking if their visibility is okay, that they're not overheating, that their knees aren't locking, that no one's going down. Jason is next to me because as they come across the stage, if somebody were to need assistance, he's right there to step in and have assist in any way needed. And then their daughter was at the other end, making sure to catch everybody and guide them safely off. And then they also had more volunteers than that. There was a team of, I know they had a consistent team of 5 that were there for the entire open and close, all 3 days of the con, just dealing with cosplay. So I was involved for 1 little hour and I was sweating and nervous and tired. So I can't imagine how they feel. But it went great. I thought it was so amazing that they surprised me right at the beginning that I was going to get to do an MC choice, that they had an award that I would get to pick somebody. I hadn't seen anything. Like I was literally a blind vote, and that was hard. So in addition to just reading everybody off, and I was like checking them all up and down before they came on stage, like trying to take it all in. So, and Nate from Rapid City, who is only 18, and this was only the second time doing a stage walk in their sun and moon costume. I need to find Nate in the world. I would love to do a 605 Speaks about being a young person and what got them into cosplay. And I just loved the whole everything. They had makeup. They had, because I appreciate theatrical makeup. I love that. They had the makeup, made their own costume, which had many, many pieces, lots of color. I like lots of color. I like that variation. They had accessory pieces, the bottles and the bells. And I have an affinity for using fishing line to make invisible attachments to things. The stars that were attached with fishing lines. So they look like they were independent, literally just walking around. And also when they did their positioning, just hit their marks. And it was very real to me immediately. So I was drawn to that one right away and it held through the whole thing for me. So that was super cool. The kids cosplay, all I can say is what a brave bunch of little kiddos to go in front of a room. I think there was 50 or 60 participants. So you can imagine 1 to 2 people for each participant in the audience, as well as the general public. Like some kids, like my little taco cat, want to show off their skills, but it is hard. You want to be part of the adventure, but also you want to be shy. And so it was great to see all of them. And doing all their moves, and Spider-Gwen, May as Spider-Gwen dropping into the splits. Girl, I wasn't prepared for that. I don't need to be challenged like that. So that was awesome. Let's see, flipping back to exhibit hall. I don't have it in here with me, but weird thing. I have my own minifig of myself that I forgot to bring with me. It's actually on my workstation, but I wish I had, because in the exhibit hall in the kids zone, the Lug group from here in Sioux Falls, they each built a part of downtown Phillips Avenue, and that all got put together. And I wish I'd had my minifig that I could put myself in front of Zambro's Variety or coming out of the Carpenter or something. I love it that Spider-Man apparently lives in the Carpenter building, and it's super great. I need to post that picture again. It's super cool. And I got a tiny Groot, a baby Groot minifig. It's just this big. Like, I love it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I love Groot. So to see that was awesome. And so that was that part, my Lego stuff. Oh, we had live tattooing at the convention, and my daughter, who was a volunteer for one of the guest handler positions for a few hours, she spontaneously got a tattoo. I've been trying to get her to come to SuperCon for years. She didn't want to come until she got to sit with Michaela Hoover and talk about haunted things and then get a random tattoo. She didn't want to come for Mom, but oh well. So, going back to cosplay, another thing, another shout out and person I'm looking for, Jenny, who was Ursula. Her, from the first time I saw her on the floor, her cosplay was beautiful and unique and intricate, and talk about just like owning it. And then to find out that was her first time ever doing cosplay, ever making something, ever wearing it out, ever doing anything. It was amazing. So Jenny from Salem, I'm going to be looking for you because I want a 605 Speaks with you. I need to talk about who you are and what your life is like, that you just up one day and was like, I'm going to sew together some tentacles and then I'm going to rock them. Because I might need you to sew me some stuff. I can't sew. So that was outstanding. And back to exhibit hall. Everything you could ever want was there. I love that 1313 Mockingbird Lane was there. Sioux Falls native. Terry Taylor was in town for the convention with his novelty shop was there, but he was also being inducted into the South Dakota Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So it was a double whammy weekend for him. It was Sioux Falls native Nick Simon, filmmaker Nick Simon, who produces films of my favorite genre, horror, was there. And I loved getting to, after hours, just while socializing, getting connect him to Michaela Hoover of Guardians of the Galaxy fame, because she's been in, sounds like horror is her home and her heart. She's had roles in horror films, and also just to listen to the two of them talk about that genre and their love of it and how they want to bring it to life, and her talking about wanting to sort of revive some of the aspects of it and being a female from the female perspective. So I'm glad I got to connect them together. Nick promises that when they make the film, I get a credit. They're going to make a film and I get the credit. So I'll do a cameo spot. I don't know what I'll do, but I'll do a cameo spot. I'll bring one of my cats. Oh God, I would love to play a crazy cat lady. That would be awesome. I've always wanted to be a final girl. I would love to be a cameo and then have the cameo person who's just like in the background end up being the final girl. And then I get my Scream Queen status. So that's awesome. Casey and Sam with the film festival and the horror film stars, I did get to sit in on part of one of their panels. I missed some of the panels. I wanted to sit in with them. Everybody that they brought in and working around the restrictions out there with the writers and screen actors, various strikes that were going on immediately before, during, and after this con. They worked around that and still were able to provide content and connection. That's awesome. That's awesome. And shout out to all of the guests who were so kind to work around, make announcements right away and say, if you ask us a question and we give an answer like this, it's because of the strike. It's not because we're trying to disrespect your question or not give you an answer or that we think it's a dumb question, but we're respecting the strike and we are, that's a work in progress. And so they were very clear about that right away, but in such a nice way and explaining it so well. And I'm pro-union. We all need to get paid fair. I don't care what we do, but we need to get paid fair. And equity is as important as equality. So I'm glad they were still able to participate, but yet also drew attention to the importance of that. So that was awesome. And wow, I'm running out of steam. What does STEAM mean? Science, technology, engineering, art, and music. Maybe also math. Maybe also magic. I missed, and I'm lucky to have seen his show and performances enough, and from behind the scenes, I missed Travis Nye on the main stage. I was running through there, but I didn't get to announce him, and I didn't get to watch the whole show. Travis and I on Kids Day was awesome. And I love that he's, for anybody that's looking for him, since Spellbound is back on the road instead of at a stationary location, definitely follow the Magic of Travis and I on Facebook, and also follow Crave Sioux Falls Restaurant, because he's partnered with Crave. They basically lured him into their brick and mortar, and he's doing a lot of live magic performance right there. How cool is that? So if you saw that cool magic and you were intrigued by it, that's something that isn't just one weekend long in Sioux Falls. We're very lucky to have a performer at that level who calls this place home and gives his art back to the community that way. So that's awesome. Make-A-Wish kids. I got to hug and high five a lot of Make-A-Wish kids, and also elbow bump and air five, because we were still very conscious of COVID and health conscious and safety. They've announced the numbers. We know that we had 10,550, I think, attendees. And that's not one of those numbers that you just spew out. This is a ticketed event. So that's tickets purchased, bodies walk through the door. This isn't just us standing at doors with clickers and kind of getting an estimate. That is a physical, quantifiable number with dollars behind it. And those dollars supported 3 charities this year. The JY6 Foundation, that supports kids and families going through their childhood cancer struggles. Reach Literacy, which I love Reach Literacy, which works to help people of all ages grab access to the world through reading. And this year, new charity, Make-A-Wish of South Dakota and Montana. So there were 24 Make-A-Wish families that were there, and as well as all of our VIP families, and they were able to all make their way through everything they wanted to see. And so, yeah, but we were very conscious of things like COVID. There were masks available. I saw lots of people wearing masks, not just part of their cosplay, but for being health conscious, being respectful to guests and attendees, and having a mask on. So a lot of our vendors are not necessarily from Sioux Falls. That's another great thing about it, about the convention, is if you like shopping in real life and touching things and seeing things is different than shopping online. It's so much more fun. And so SuperCon brings a lot of those vendors that you've been looking at online, brings them here and home to you to shop with. So a lot of the out of town and out of state vendors were very respectful in that, knowing whatever's going on in their area might be a different strain that we're not ready for or whatnot. And so they had masks, or I saw one vendor that said, ask me to mask. So like, if you felt that you needed to mask while you talked with them, they were willing to do that. We had masks available to give out. We had every single one of our guests received COVID tests in their swag bags. So they could test when they arrived, and they could test before they go home, and they could test when they get home. They all got, I think, 4 COVID tests, so that if any of them were to find out that they had brought it, they could step out if needed to, for safety. So that was awesome. And our staff has been watching and things like that. So everybody knows that's really important to me. I got vaccinated for both flu and COVID the week before the convention, knowing that it still might not protect me, but I wanted to hopefully not only have some protection, but protect others just in case. So I did. I'm still COVID free as of this morning, and I will test in 2 more days, and I will test in a week, and I will test in 10 days, because that's my general practice when I go to a large event. But again, 10,550 people. That's a lot of air fives and fist bumps and elbow bumps, and it's great. And that's another reason to wear deodorant. When you shake hands, you stay tucked in, but when you elbow bump, whoo, it's all out there. Yeah. So I know our filmographer, Daniel, to give him a shout out. He filmed at Sword Experience. I know that he got a lot of cuts of me going, like, more of that than me sword fighting. It's me going, whew. So that's a workout. And when I eat tacos all day, every day. I went 5 days without tacos, but fixed that this morning. Not sponsored. Love Taco John's. 605 Speaks is not sponsored. Runs live. No editing. This is real deal. So, and Axel Osteen with Osteen Photography and Sodak Music Mag, the photos that they were shooting, Axel and Thomas, the professional photos over the backdrop, that was great. Being out there with the cameras, because like I said, this year I did not get a chance to focus on getting as many still shots or one-on-ones with people. And so I'm looking forward to seeing their photo drop, which they do an amazing job, and we'll do a lot of editing and lighting. And so it'll be a few days, but keep an eye out for that, like those pages. But you know, I could probably talk for 6 or 7 more hours about just how fun it was. And that's without having the benefit of seeing everything I wanted to see. Like, I can't tell you about the game room because I didn't make it down there, other than I did do the walkthroughs and say hi to everybody, but I didn't get to watch a lot. I want to give a shout out to, gosh, I don't know who, but when I find out, I will link it in the board game room. One of the sponsors brought some amazing badge ribbons that had pronouns on them. My pronouns are, like, for example, myself, my pronouns are she, they, things like that. I'll post some pictures of how awesome those were. I love that they provided those because you can put them right on the bottom of your badge. I loved Celtic Honey. She's one of the cosplayers and burlesque performers. She was also an educator at this year's convention, and more than just her panel, she did have a panel about what she does, but on her booth, she had badge ribbons that said, ask first. Little blue badge ribbons that said, ask first. And if you asked her about what does ask first mean, she reminded everybody and educated on how, and this is true for everything in the real world or whatnot, but in cosplay and in performance life, to ask first before you touch anyone, before you handle their costume or props, before you photograph them, or before you video them. Ask first. Cosplay is not consent, and consent is mandatory in all things. So for some of us, especially people that have had performance life, we just know that, and we think it should be, we feel like people should know that, but it isn't obvious. I mean, you'll see somebody and you'll want to touch their costume or touch their hair, or I will very often say, oh my gosh, I want to touch that, so that but I don't until I get permission, but oh my gosh, I want to touch that, because in its own way, that's a compliment too, to the costuming, is that it's so amazing, or there's something so inviting about it that you want to experience it, but you need to ask first. So, and also that was handy in a lot of ways at a lot of booths. Before you touch or pick anything up or take it, ask first. It's that simple. So I did comment on one of her pages that I appreciated her being an educator that way and bringing those badge ribbons that said that. I put one on my badge right away, ask first. So very awesome. And again, yeah, 605 Speaks. What am I? Who am I? I'm Jenny Mack. 605 Speaks is my personal heart project. I met a lot of new people and talked to them this weekend and asked them to participate. I do this only for my own happiness. I started it during the pandemic because I got lonely. All of our theater and improv stuff and comedy stuff kind of got shut down. And when you're used to socializing with strangers, and then that was taken away. But at the same time, everybody learned more about using Zoom and video. So this is what I do. If you want to talk to me about 605 South Dakota, what you do, I want to talk to somebody from every county. We have 66 counties, and I want to meet somebody from every county. And I just ask questions like, what is it like where you live? You don't have to say your whole name. You don't have to say what you do for a job. I want to know, does your town have a grocery store? Does it have a clinic? What do your kids in that town do for fun? Where do you go to get to Taco John's? What's your nearest Taco John's? What's your favorite hidden gem about where you live? But also, if you do have something you want to talk about that's important and special to you, like I said, I want to talk to the people with Cat Rescue. I've talked to a lady from Winter in the past about her trap, neuter, release program. I've talked to some business owners about how did you start a business in your small town. Bees! I love to talk about bees. This is a funny thing. So Michaela Hoover, again with Guardians of the Galaxy, she kept asking my daughter and I about what is our skincare regimen. So this is my humble brag. It's not even humble. I'm proud of it. So looking at my skin, no makeup, no Botox. People always, when I say I'm old, people always say, oh, you're not that old. I am as old as I say I am. And I do think I look my age, but I nicely look my age. And my daughter, she's a supermodel and porcelain skin and perfection. I made one and I made it right the first time. So I didn't have to do it again. But I wash my face with honey. That's what I do. That's my skincare routine. And local honey. And I eat local honey every single day. And I love bees and I want to save the bees and improve bee habitat in South Dakota. And if you have bees, I want to talk to you about them because they're awesome. And you are awesome if you're taking care of bees. So that's what 605 Speaks is. It's just my heart project for me. Nobody watches these. It's not sponsored. It's not a moneymaker. It's just a good time. And I have learned so much about my fellow South Dakotans, and I met so many this weekend that I want to learn more about. So if you're interested, email me at 605speaks@gmail.com. I post things sporadically on 605speaks.com. I'm on YouTube and Facebook and Tumblr. And I don't know, I dabble in Instagram, but because I don't believe in filters, I'm a no filter girl. So it's not my favorite. And I fall down the TikTok well and just watch them so much. I never have time to make any. So, but if you're from South Dakota, 605speaks@gmail.com, hit me up or connect me with somebody that you think I should talk to about what it's like to live where you live. And yeah, feed my heart project and tell me how I can help feed yours. So thank you so much. I did not get to see hardly any of my friends that were at SuperCon, again, because I was staying in one spot instead of roving as much. I have a lot of messages to reply to of people saying, I'm here, where are you? I'm here, where are you? I'm here, I can't hear you, because they had expected me to hear overhead. Big shout out to Kevin Winter. It was his first convention with SuperCon. He's just moved to South Dakota, but he's been involved with conventions all over the country. When we figured out the mic situation, I was like, Kevin, here's the mic, do the thing. And he was great. So it's like, welcome, baptism by fire. And so everybody in my personal circle that's messaged me and uses this format to get a hold of me, here's my full debrief, basically. And I'm sorry I didn't get to see you and send me your pictures, and I love you. So, all right. Taco, come here. Come say goodbye to the people. Come here, baby. All right. This is Taco. She's the newest of the kitties. We have Black Kitty, stripe number 1. No, stripe number 1 lives at the other farm now. We have Black Kitty. We have stripe number 2 and stripe number 3. And now we have Taco Kitty. Can I have a kiss? No. Meow. All right. She's going to get spayed on Monday. So I think she heard me book the appointment and is not talking to me. But all right. Love and miss you all. Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go take a nap before my chiropractor appointment. Bye.